Okay, thank you guys for coming back. Today I'm joined by Lisa Mohr, a life coach, author, Reiki Master, and intuitive development teacher who spent decades helping people understand themselves and trust their own inner knowing. Rather than simply giving people intuitive answers, Lisa teaches them how to recognize and develop their own gifts to become, as she puts it, their own psychic every day. Lisa, welcome to the N2 Continuum broadcast.
Thank you so
Oh
much for having me,
man.
Tony. I'm excited to talk with you today.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome when I reaching out to you because I ran into one of your videos and I thought it was so amazing the way you're putting it. Like, I hear a lot of stuff in this community, like people activating each other. And
hmm
I'd like to jump into that, like
hmm
to have that be our main conversation because that's what drove me to you today. But maybe you'd like to start off with like your background and how you got into all this, and we can lead into that. Yeah.
Okay. So when I was, I have a bunch of different stories, but my personal story with intuitive abilities, when I was 5, the kindergarten teacher looked at me and I knew she was going to call on me to be line leader. And which was hot stuff when you were 5 years old. You meant you got to lead the line to go to wherever gym or lunch was. And she called on me. And I had this electric feeling inside my body. I knew that she was going to do it, and then she did. And after that, I was hooked. I remember just being obsessed with that feeling of knowing when things would happen and then collecting the evidence that they did. When I was 8, I saw a movie. I don't know the name of it, but it was with Ellen Beardsley, and she was a healer, and she took the pain on herself. And I remembered thinking, I can do that. And that became kind of an obsession. And I remember in second grade, I read every book I could in the little library there was all the way through fifth grade that would have anything about intuition, psychic abilities, special gifts, anything like that. I just became obsessed. During around the same time, my mother got a series that came in the mail every month, and there were all these things about ghosts and energy and healing. And I jumped into some of my mom's numerology classes when I was 9, and I became obsessed with astrology. And so I was that kid that was obsessed with that. I used to have sleepovers and I would take the Uno cards and say, what color is the card? And practice and do all of that. And at the same time, I would practice. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would tell a soothing story and just do this to their hand until they fell asleep. So I was like practicing guided meditations when I was really young. So that kind of became the base of it. And then when I would heal, I would take the pain on myself. I knew nothing about boundaries, energy hygiene. I knew nothing about Reiki. And then when I was 15, I was invited to a Reiki sharing and I experienced the power of Reiki and what Reiki was. And I remember there were people sobbing on tables and I was laughing. And it was just this incredible emotional energy release. And then I did Reiki all throughout high school. I was the one that my girlfriends came to me if they had cramps or if they had a headache or if they had a cough. Again, I didn't know how to protect my energy and I wasn't attuned, but I was still doing Reiki. I did Reiki for 4 years before I took any formal training. At 19, I saved all my pennies for several months and I went through the Reiki Master program. At 20, I created a curriculum, but I created the curriculum with energy protection, Reiki, and then I also included the law of attraction, which I read a book by Shakti Gawain about creative visualization. And so I rolled all that into a system. And then later I called it the Mohr Method of Healing Reiki Training System. So I teach this form of Reiki that involves Reiki, energy protection, and the law of attraction. And then from there, I've taken it into energy hygiene and psychic development. And I always tell people, yes, I could give you an intuitive reading, but I would much rather you learn to give yourself your own intuitive reading. And I'm not a big fan of people giving their power away to other people in these intuitive arts, unless they really know them, really trust them, but it should be a collaborative, empowering experience, which kind of rolls into the nothing needs to be activated for you.
Wow. It's that's like but you've been kind of surrounded by this from your mom doing this as well, right? Or something along the
Somewhat,
lines.
yes. My mom was definitely interested in it, but I can guarantee I was the only kid in elementary school that believed in reincarnation and ghosts and auras and all of that.
Oh
I
wow.
have been able to see, hear, feel, sense energies and entities since I can remember. So, yes, I would be one of those people that was born with the abilities. That said, I've been able to help other individuals uh, activate these abilities within themselves. So I've been able to assist them doing it for themselves. I did not activate anything
Yeah.
for them, but I've been able to create the space that those abilities emerged within themselves. Big difference.
Well then, well then, let's start to go deeper into that right there, because that's really what drew me to you. Like, um, that video I ran into, and I'll have it linked to in the blog post that supplements this video. But I just thought that was so fascinating because when I first got into all this stuff, like I got into it because of my kid had a health condition, and I've watched this video with this QHHT practitioner, and so it led me down this whole spiritual awakening thing. Um, I don't even like to call it spiritual anymore, but now that I've been kind of around this whole conversation, but I kind of fell into all these meditations and stuff that are saying they're gonna activate these DNA things in me, and all of a sudden I'm gonna be in another vibration, another plane, and
You're going to be in the fifth
I'm gonna
dimension, just
ascend.
like
Yeah, I'm gonna be
that.
in the fifth dimension. I'm gonna make it through this whole timeline thing. And there was a moment where I really just got sucked into that thing, and then it kind of and then there was somebody else online, and that kind of helped it snap that, wait a minute, I didn't get kicked off into this path by doing anything. It just
Hmm.
happened in my life, and I
Hmm.
realized there was nothing I needed to do to begin with, so there's
Mm-mm.
nothing I need to do now, right?
Mm-mm.
Just be
No.
me, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
and then when I saw your video, you kind of just boom, it just kind of I was like, oh shit, that pieced it. That put the whole puzzle. I saw the whole picture. So yeah, so if you can go deeper into that topic, however you want to,
I think I
you
want
know,
to go into from the angle of being perhaps the person that was not so liked because I was odd, I was intuitive, I was psychic, and wondering why society doesn't like the word psychic. And there's some validity to that. If you think of anything we don't like in society, a lot of times it comes back to an abuse of power. And it could be anything. But when we have a parent that's a bad parent, or a government figure, or a religious leader, and they do something that we don't like, it's usually somewhere in the category of they abused their power when they did this, when they said this, when they created this feeling, when they made this declarative statement. And so when I think of that with psychic abilities, I think that a lot of people who get these abilities, I can go layers deep into this, but a lot of people who get these abilities get excited, and usually they want to help other people, but the ego is intertwined in this. And I recently just heard a wonderful acronym from a student of mine, and he said in India they call that edging God out is ego, edging God out. And even like I just said, even when I do interviews, even when I teach, years ago, I used to get really nervous before I did that. And what I did is I realized that I don't teach the classes. I'm here as a vessel, but the energy, the wisdom, the intentions come through me to meet the needs of the students in front of me. And to this day, I prefer teeny tiny apprenticeship style classes. I'm not a large audience person. I tried to do that. It did not feel right for me. The energy exchange is not rich enough. I need to feel the people that I'm teaching. And minus YouTube and social media, but when I do the live classes, I really like to have that feeling. So we look at people that are gifted, that have something, and we look at other people that are drawn to spirituality or these arts because they have something that's missing. They have a void inside of them. And so with that combination, it becomes very scary. We have a person that has all this power, and we have a person who's perhaps broken, and they're looking for somebody to tell them who to be, what to feel, how to feel better, how to make their life fixed and work. And if this came in a pill, I mean, and I could sell it, right? But it's not. It's a journey. It's layers and layers and layers of growth that each person has to do, which is individual to that person. This is not a competition with who's more spiritual, who's more aware. Some people wish to activate intuitive abilities to enhance their own third eye, their own sixth sense, their own awarenesses. Other people, that freaks them out. Some people just don't even believe in it. So what I see sometimes is when I have an eager person, a student who is feeling these inspired energies, but they have not mastered their energy hygiene. And so they are under the influence of energy hecklers, I'm just going to call them. So dark forces. And that's going to sound spooky, but if I were to tell you, we all have our own good guys and we all have our own bad guys.
Yeah.
And I've had people say, oh, that can't be. I don't have that. I'm like, you've never been angry. You've never been jealous in your entire life. You've never been depressed. Those are dark energies. And I have a whole spiel on that. I have a wonderful energy hygiene meditation that does it in like 48 minutes that will help you go through all these layers to remove these things. And again, I'm giving people the tools. I know from a business standpoint, I could be doing this in a very different way, but that's not my legacy. That's not my mission. My mission is to teach people how to do this for themselves. What a world we would live in if I had learned at 5 years old that that negative feeling you're feeling right now, if you would just clean your energy, will go away for real. 100%, and that you'll feel whole and happy again. So we see people that don't know this. It's not their fault. There are very, very few bad, evil people on this planet. There are a lot of poor communicators, a lot of hungry people to fill their own voids, to feel their own sense of purpose, to complete their own mission. And in the name of helping people, sometimes they take other people's power away. Now, this happens to all of us. Maybe it's happened with a teacher. Maybe it's happened with a legal figure in your life. Maybe it happened with a doctor. I've had many examples with doctors where they very honestly said the wrong thing. It could have been delivered in a much more empowering way to me and left me feeling broken and defeated. That's in all my materials and part of my story. I was told I would probably never have children. They went from saying I didn't have endometriosis, begged the doctor. She invalidated me, said I was too young, to saying I was the worst case she'd ever seen at 19 and I would probably never bear children and I would have a lifetime of pain. And I had two beautiful children, and I don't have a lifetime of pain. I've healed myself from so many different conditions, which every time there was something, it makes a beautiful story for my student body. And again, by modeling that I can do this for myself, you can do this for yourself. And I do not want to take somebody's power away. There's a lot of bad that comes when somebody's worshiping you. When they are worshiping you, they are making that person responsible for their successes. Soon enough, those people will realize they will also be responsible for their students' failures, which may look legal, may look like energetic attacks, may look like a bad reputation. But to take all the power away from the client or the student is foolish and saying, I have the ability to activate this within you. Even with my attunements, I have some people who come monthly for the attunements. I have pre-recorded attunements. I'm sure that's controversial. I have tons of testimonials on my website from the pre-recorded attunements where people saw colors, they cried, they had amazing experiences. One woman, it's amazing, she had honey leaking from the ceiling. There was a hive apparently. And during the attunement, honey, when I said fill yourself with golden light, during the attunement, gold honey was dripping down the wall. I've had some amazing, just synchronistic events. So pre-recorded, I'm giving people these frequencies, send it out, give it, and then their own being opens and accepts it. And some people have said, well, I don't know if I felt it. I said, do it again. They'll say, oh, I felt something different this time. There you go. You opened yourself to it. You allowed yourself to accept a new frequency that's like an antenna that allows Reiki to come through you. So it was collaborative. And then I have people who take my live attunements sometimes over and over because they enjoy the feeling of intimate connection with nice Reiki that I'm beaming and sending to them. Am I responsible for the way they're feeling within themselves? Absolutely not. Am I creating an environment? Am I holding the space that their energy will immediately lift and resonate with mine? Yes. And that's how that happens. So I'm in the space and their own being decides, are they going to come into this frequency or are they just going to stay where they are? A lot of people cry, a lot of people laugh, a lot of people see colors,
Yeah.
but I am not activating anything inside of them. Minus the attunement process says in Asui Reiki, which I teach, there's 8 people between me and the Grand Master. So I've been teaching this since 1995. I think that's the year. Um, It's in my books. I know I was 20 and I took it at 19. I know I'm dating myself. So there's a procedure where we attune the chakras, the hands, the back, depending on what level you're in. And that supposedly is supposed to increase the Reiki flow. And I do believe there's something to that. But I practiced for 4 years without any attunement and I did wonders with that. So nothing needed to be activated within me to do that. And I've met other people that weren't attuned, that were natural healers, loads of people, dozens of people that were naturally energy aware. And it had absolutely nothing to do with a gift, a bestowment, an activation, anything like that. So I tell people, yes, maybe that collaborative experience, just like going to see your services, would open something in front of them. But be wary of any human being that says, I can activate this for you, free or for a fee. Be very careful letting that person into your field, not because they're malicious, but because if there's even an iota of ego in there, they may be bringing in energies that you don't want buried into the intimate parts of your being.
Mm.
So I'm very sensitive over the years. I think I've probably had in my entire life 3 tarot readings. I do not give my power away lightly. Why would I give my power to somebody else? All they have to say is, "Oh, I see you getting in a car accident," and it burrows into your head.
Yeah.
All they have to say is one sentence. And even if you say you don't believe it, it will burrow into your head. The last reading I had, I did not give her permission. She channeled Peter from the Bible, and I did not give her permission. And she started channeling him anyways and told me this message. And I swear I lost a sense of higher power for 7 days after that. It messed with me so bad. I said, I'm never going to do this again unless I know the person and I trust the person. So even in that sake, even in that case, and she was definitely channeling someone or something, but I didn't give her permission to share what she did, and I didn't leave me feeling elevated or evolved. And in my classes, I teach delivery of content. So I teach a way to present the information that leaves the person empowered, that leaves them feeling alive, activated, empowered. Like no matter what's coming, they can make that decision and those choices ultimately to better their own life, if that makes sense. So that's my belief system, and I'm sure there's people out there in these arts that would argue this or be angry with me, but it's my standpoint, my viewpoint. I don't want the power of being responsible for anybody's success. I want them to feel and know that they did it themselves. I was a guide, I was a leader, I inspired them. That's great. That's good. But I did not do it for them.
Yeah, like this might sound like kind of weird, but I was thinking a lot about Charles Xavier from the X-Men. And he's like, when he brings in these mutants, like these kids that all of a sudden they're being um, probably ready to be, imprisoned somehow, even from their own parents, or they're traumatized by this, what's ever going on with them. And he brings them in and he helps them find out who they are. He's not taking no credit for directing them or nothing. He's just helping, putting them in a place where they can really truly discover what they are and become their own master. And that's like, and so that's that part right there feels the most genuine to me,
It's like a
you
really
know?
big compliment because I relate to Xavier. I feel like
Yeah,
I want to have a
cool.
school for the gifted, and no matter how angry or awful people are, and I understand Magneto's standpoint a lot. I do.
Yeah,
Um,
I do
I
too.
was teased viciously. I was the school witch. I was stalked. I was gossiped about. I was attacked psychically and intuitively, and I was even tripped one time and fell on my face. I mean, the cruelty
Mm,
I experienced because I saw and thought and felt different. So, and yet
mm,
privately, every person I ever talked to would say, I've never told anybody this before, but one time I saw a ghost. I saw an alien. I heard knocking on the floor. One time I know I was in a place and I saw colors. I saw my grandmother come to me. I had a dream, blah, 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 blah. I'm the one that they would tell from as early as I can remember. But publicly, they would never say it.
yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't an awesome experience being the way I am, but I'm grateful that I did go through it because I've been able to hold space and be compassionate for all forms of abuse and pain and transformations. Yeah. So, but like I said, I thank you for saying that because that's what
Yeah,
I
no,
want a
totally.
school of the gifted, but even the people that aren't gifted, even that, I help people understand that I believe everybody is intuitive.
Mhm.
I've been fortunate. I haven't really met anybody, even the most unintuitive, crass, blunt person I've ever met got 8 out of 8 of those cards that have like a star, a square, a squiggly line. Yeah, he made fun
Right.
of this stuff until he did that 8 in a row and then was more humbled. So, I mean, I
Okay.
every single person I've met that I work with has some sort of skill. I've had a student who worked with me. No, it was called Angel Helpers. It was a class I had about 20 years ago. And on class 7, she still had not exhibited any abilities and any of the skills and was struggling. And then what we had to do was hold a stone in our pocket for a week and then I put the stones in a bag with a number. And there were 7 of us, and you had to guess the person's name based on the energy. That's psychometry. She got all 7 people. And then we
Oh,
mixed them
wow.
up and did it again. She got all 7 the second time. The whole class was just humbled. So it took her 7 classes to find her gift with psychometry. She's incredibly good. I didn't get to continue working with her, but if I had now, I would work on remote psychometry, which is where I have an object in a box and I say, okay, feel it, sense it. What is it? So, I mean, everybody has different skill sets. So I go deeper, deeper, deeper with all your different skills. It starts out more tangible and then it goes more into ethereal. And because I work only online now, it's all through Zoom. I thought it would be less powerful. Turns out it's more powerful. People can feel the Reiki when I do it. They can see colors, see auras, they hear things, they hear their guides. So all
Mhm.
these abilities emerge. One woman who has no sense of smell can smell the correct answer with the psychic puzzles. Isn't that fun? So I provide evidence. Yeah, I know. And in front of a
Wow.
group over and over and over and over. And that's what I get excited about. That's what lights me up when somebody has a true psychic breakthrough with me. And I get to be part of that frequency of them discovering how amazing they are. That's what I do this for. And then I'll be like, oh shoot, we're
Yeah.
out of time. Because it's so fun. We just go and go. Yeah, that's what I teach. You're looking at me kind of like, yeah, those that's what I where I go is extreme psychic development. So I take, I might take like um I take, these are I don't know if it's okay to put product on this, but I these are animal medicine cards. So there'd be 3. And then I'll just say, okay, where's the links? And I'll mix it up. And then my students will put it in the chat box. And then I'll say, okay, now I want you to see which one smells like the right answer. Now I want you to see which one sounds like the right answer. Do you hear something? They might hear a high-pitched ring. Then I'll say which one tastes. They might taste something that tastes like a match or tastes like vanilla. It's really fun. So I provide evidence for this. I'm not big on like hooey. I'm big on evidence-based hooey, if that makes sense. I want the concrete evidence there. That's why I
Yeah.
have all these blogs and all these published books and all this media because I want there to be printed evidence, practical step by step to get to this intuitive awareness. And then it works like this. People who have activated these abilities with themselves no longer look at that umbrella and think, later in the day, I wish I had grabbed it. They grab it. They look at a bottle of water and an apple and they're like, better grab it. Turns out somebody at work forgot their lunch. That's the kind of stuff they know. They go, I think I should leave now. And they avoid a traffic jam.
Wow.
I think I should call this person. They're on my radar. They're in crisis. That's how people use this every minute of the day. So that's what I'm teaching, but I certainly did not activate it. They activated it themselves by watching me, by watching my stuff, and then just resonating with that frequency. I don't know what activated you. I don't know how you resonated with a frequency. I also try to avoid the lingo. People get so excited. Lisa, I had a Kundalini awakening and now I'm a clairsentient. I'm like, great. So your energy is activated. Yes, Kundalini awakening is a term for when you have a huge activation. But I try not to use the big words because I leave so many people out. And I
Mm.
was left out. The whole reason I did this is I was lonely. I wanted other people to be able to do it with me.
Yeah.
Today, I didn't have your link. I caught your ball. It's a game we play in class. I close my eyes and I throw a psychic ball to one of the four people. I had this in a live class. We had eight people. And that person would raise their hand. And then it got even better. Other people in the class said it went to Jennifer. And then I would split and send it to two people. And other people in the class, they would raise their hand. And other people would say it went to those two. Can you imagine that level of consciousness? What if that was taught in kindergarten? How fun that would be. But I caught your
Yeah,
ball. We were typing each other at the same moment, early, at that same moment, whatever moment it was like 25 minutes before this. We both got online and decided to check the links. That is
yeah.
not a coincidence. That is just Monday in my world. And we
And to
talk about it in the online group and we share it, and it's just real. I know I'm ahead of my time. I will probably be dead before any of this material really cycles the planet. I've accepted that, but I'm trying to give it all. I'm trying to give as much of it as I can. I don't think I'll be dead. I'm planning to live to be 130, actually. I've been preparing my body my whole life. So I'm not planning on going anywhere, but I am trying to give as much material, and I plan to teach until the day I die. I plan to teach and share and have these wonderful aha moments because nothing lights me up more than those moments I just talked about when a student experiences their X-Man ability and they didn't even know what its potential was.
yeah, and just to be fair, I know a viewer might be like, well, maybe somebody just forgot to send a link and they just checked
At
it.
that minute,
That's I would
well, let's
say
ask. You could
I would
ask
say that's
chat
fair.
the
No, I
mathematical,
would
what are the mathematical odds? I deleted the email. It's probably still in the record as a draft. What are the mathematical odds that you and I would choose to write a message at the exact minute? I was writing you, and because I replied right away and then I logged in. I was writing you as you wrote me. I replied instantly as it came to me. So you can certainly think that way, but when it happens 100 times, 200 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, I don't even know the course of my life. The thing is, I track it. I track it for myself. I track it for my students. We have a whole section in my online group called Synchronicities. I was thinking of this song and then I went into a store and it was playing. I haven't heard it in years. And then later on in the day, my husband was humming that song. Now, you could say, okay, coincidence, coincidence. At what point do you recognize it's no longer a coincidence? At what point do you recognize that there are energies around us, spirit guides, that work really hard to coordinate the moment that you leave the house and everybody else leaves the house when you're wondering if you should believe in something so that the license plate in front of you says believe? That takes a lot of brain capacity to think of, but how do they coordinate all those things? And then you go into
yeah,
the dental office and there's a sign that says believe. And then you go to the grocery store and somebody has a t-shirt that says believe. I
yeah. I
see all
mean,
that. I track all that.
and like I was gonna say, like it's fair to say that. It's fair to be like that, but it's also fair to acknowledge that you don't know what the hell this reality is that we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
None of us really kind of do. And
Mm-mm.
science can't explain it right now, you know. They're talking a lot about like AI and consciousness, and that might be getting closer to what this kind of reality that we're living in. And like you got me thinking like what I found by putting people into this kind of deep state hypnosis is that I'm putting them into a state where they're kind of like able to remove themselves from this reality, this identity that they are, and they put themselves into a position where they can start to see that, wait a minute, I am kind of creating my own reality. My
Mm-hmm.
way I think and feel inside is creating my health conditions, you
Mm-hmm.
know? It's even creating all these dramas and
Mm-hmm.
all these things that are these learning experiences that are really designed to help me grow, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And like so when you work with these people and you're getting them kind of integrated into what they are in this reality, like how does that like kind of shape them moving forward? Like,
That's a great question. So as soon as people start working with me, I tell them that things are going to change. If they sign up for one of my bigger programs, like my Reiki Master teacher program, which has psychic development in it, the very first class, I tell them your entire world, everything's going to be dumped out. And then like a fan's going to hit it and it's going to blow all over. And you'll be like, oh, isn't that pretty? It's like confetti all over the place. And then it'll land and it's going to land completely different. Your reality will be different with your friendship circle, with your family, with your career, with your relationships, intimate, with your relationships with your neighbors, with your experience going to the grocery store. Everything is going to change. What became mildly annoying before, or what was mildly annoying will become too much for you to handle. You won't have the bandwidth and you won't even have the interest to continue. And you'll start to crave quality conversation. You'll start to crave people who can see this ethereal world and understand it and hear it and feel it. And that will begin to become paramount to everything you do because it's a sixth sense that's being activated. You're activating a new gear in your body that can take you even further and smoother that you didn't know how. And the thing is, though, instead of it just being sixth gear, it's like it's a gear that's, doing the entire, maybe an engine increase because every one of your experiences are enhanced. Your sleeping is enhanced. Your communication, the way you feel is enhanced. People become an awareness. And it's harder to hang around people who don't have that awareness. Most of the people that I work with don't have many people, if anybody. I had one woman that it was illegal. She's from St. Lucia. It's not safe to practice Reiki or intuitive development, very superstitious. I have another woman in Panama. They believe in African curses and they're very paranoid. And they want their aura cleansed and energy hygiene. They do like that. But any place that there's a lot of dogma or a lot of superstition, you might find that people are not open to this. And if I have a student from that part of the world, they tend to be alone. They may have families that are very, very religious that condemn this. I have a wonderful lady that left the Mormon faith in Utah. For my international crowd, I don't know how to explain that. Utah is a very Mormon state, and to leave your family is to leave that religion is to leave the family. Very stressful, but she started to question the dogma. It didn't resonate with her, and she started seeing, feeling, hearing different things that did not fit in that dogma. When people work with me, I have to clarify, I work with so many faiths. They end up closer to their higher power, and I love them all. I love all the faiths. And I see all the faiths. When I do remote work, I'll see Krishna. I've seen Jesus. I've seen different Wiccan gods and entities. I've seen it all. So how could I judge it and say it's not real when I'm seeing it? I can describe it. And that's what's in their field. I'm speaking of when we do remote healings, either in a group or when I do them privately for clients.
Yeah. And it's like I really kind of like how you really uh work with them, or sounds like you're when you're working with them, you're working to make them feel empowered of themselves, like they
Every
are
chance I
in
get.
control,
Hmm.
and that's
Hmm.
like that's such an important that was really important to me when I realized that about myself was like, you know what? It's me that's controlling this, and I am like the dictator of my reality. And
Hmm.
it's like, and to all of a sudden like come to that realization, and then like it's not even kind of like taking responsibility. It's almost like I feel like, okay, now I feel like like myself of some kind.
Hmm.
Like when you get people to look outside this box like this, and you as you grow, do you grow with them within your community? Do you watch them evolve as they, yeah.
I mean, my saying is please come into my orbit. Okay. So I don't know if they're going to be Pluto Chiron or if they're going to be like, Mercury. Are they going to be really far away or close? But stay in my orbit. And some of them talk to me through my different groups. I mean, I am accessible, but I try to keep boundaries. So I'm accessible through live classes. I'm accessible through the community. There's certain threads that I comment on and we communicate that way. I have people that work with me in a coaching environment, people that work with me through remote healings, people that work with me through live classes, attunements. I have a wonderful free live Q&A practice session once a month on Fridays at 9 a.m. Central Time. And that's a great place to jump in, ask me questions, get some access to me for free, and maybe get some ideas. Again, the questions have to be serving for the community, not what does this dream mean that I had. But yes, if people are willing, I try to keep my prices very affordable. So again, I love people, and I recognize that a lot of people going through spiritual transformations aren't millionaires, and I understand that it's a cash world. And I try. I have so many tiers from going from free all the way to elite programs where people want to spend a lot of one-on-one time with me. But I definitely am there. And if I'm not there, I have resources in place. Maybe you've activated your own abilities and it feels scary. I have this wonderful meditation called the psychic dial where you can turn it down. Maybe you want to start with energy hygiene. I have a cord cutting meditation, which is on YouTube. We can include the link. And I have another one for adoring your inner goddess for self-worth so that you feel beautiful and start to fill your energy, fill your cup with love and light so that you don't have these attachments that nag at you that tell you that you're not good enough. But I definitely don't ever leave people hanging. I give them, there are so many resources that I do offer. The bigger classes, it's intense. There is an intensity there. There's an intimacy there with the group. There's a whole global life transformation for my students when they take these classes. They are a different person by the end of the class. They see things in dimension that they didn't see before. The world might have been flat, and all of a sudden they see dimensions and angles, and they can hear and see and sense and smell it. Some of them have some abilities, other people have others. I can't guarantee if you want to see energy that you're going to see energy. I think the best intuitive ability is knowingness. So,
That's funny because I have permission from my kid to share her story
okay.
because I asked her when I was before I even started this whole thing, the podcast thing, because it was so important to me and how I got into all this. And when I one thing I found out with her was that it was a past life that she had during the plague.
Mm,
And in the time of she ended up contracting the plague, and she had all these lesions and stuff all over her body. And and I ended up within this scene speaking to this character that she played, and I was asking about the relationship of what's going on in her life now. And it turned out to be a lesson that she didn't learn in that lifetime to see herself as beautiful.
mm,
And so the health condition she had now in this lifetime, visually it was similar.
mm,
She had all these lesions and stuff or these rashes. And that right there played a huge role in her healing and getting past all of this. And so when you said that just now, it's funny you said that like teaching them to feel beautiful because I was thinking that before you even said that, and I was thinking like a lot of people that get into this stuff, they approach practitioners, right? Reiki practitioners, even QHHE practitioners, they're approaching them because they have a health condition
hmm
and they're looking for some alternative outside the mainstream, medical industry, all that stuff. As you're putting them through the program, how do they come to terms with all that stuff? Do they find their past life experience, like that kind of thing? And what are the different kind of things like you've had your students experience, or even yourself around all that?
Uh, I definitely believe in an integrative approach with medical and holistic. And what I tell people is that if you're having better success with holistic, your frequency has changed. So you're more receptive to those arts. So you may have better success. I don't tell people ever to quit because I very much believe in both. I believe there's nuggets of good in all.
Hmm.
I think that personally, I have trouble with allopathic medicine because it specifically is designed to suppress symptoms. That's allopathic medicine is the suppression of symptoms.
Hmm.
And I believe in trying to cure the cause. And yes, there's all these different schools of thought, but generally speaking, if the energy body is carrying, the big one we're going through right now is generational attachment. So literally, I'm carrying the frequencies of my mother in the fetus of my grandmother, and so on and so forth, all the way back. And so those frequencies are carried through. My energy hygiene regimen blows them up. We use Reiki, we put it in a glass box and we blow them up. It's that one specifically, we unzip the spine and all these things fly out, and then we see the spine is blue and glowing. So they're just remedial visualizations. It doesn't matter. I don't want people diving into things
Yeah.
because it doesn't help them. I not at all to invalidate your daughter, but you have to understand in my world, I've heard, well, in a past life I was raped and now I can't
Yeah.
do this. Ugh. Let's not make excuse. Then maybe you should be in
No.
that life because this life's wasting away with that experience. Yes, we all
Yeah.
have
I
pain.
hear that totally. Yeah.
Yeah, we all have pain. We all have pain. And I've heard what
Yeah.
would seem like nominal pain and people are destroyed by it. And I've heard some of the most grotesque pain and they seem to take it in stride and have found a way to deal with it.
Yeah.
Pain is pain. Yes, pain is the gift that gives us the desire for transformation. And Abraham Hicks would say that desire is born of contrast. So if you were poor, you'll crave wealth. If you are sick, you will crave health. If you feel ugly, you will crave beauty. If you are alone, you will crave community.
Mm.
So that is all part of that. And they all go through layers. Everybody goes through layers of transformation. Some people, I always look at specifically where people's growth ceiling is. Everybody has a different growth ceiling. The people that hang out in my orbit the longest don't seem to have one. They just keep growing and growing and growing and
Mm.
growing. Other people will grow to a point and then they leave, or they grow to a point and they leave for a while and then they come back, or they just kind of stay on the outskirts and that's their comfort level.
Yeah.
If I look at the reason why, it's almost always the same reason, and it's because their tribe won't grow.
Mm.
So Einstein said it, two different frequencies cannot exist on the same plane. So you can only go so far
Yeah.
before you lose your tribe.
I probably fit into that category, to be honest.
I got that when you talked a bit. Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
it's hard. You have to make some decisions. Do I leave these people or do I stay? And I thank God I'm with a husband that doesn't have a ceiling. So I can just keep
Mm.
growing and growing and growing and growing. And my kids don't have a ceiling either, though they grow in different ways, but they're always
Yeah.
learning and growing. Thank God. Because it's
I
hard. It's hard when you're around people that do have a growth ceiling. And I don't know what's more annoying being, trying to drag somebody with or being the person that's being dragged. What's worse?
is
You
it
know?
is it also like I don't want to act like I know, but when I say it, is it on a soul level? Is it like the soul is like playing the game still? Like it still wants to be kind of in the and kind of in with the game of duality and all that stuff. It still wants to play in that game a little bit, but it wants to, you know, I because like when I was thinking, it was like I like to marinate, and I like to get some information, swamp myself with information. I do it in all things. Like I do software engineering. I'll pick up a programming language and I'll just mash myself with all this information. And then I got to step away from it and go marinate on it. You know what I
Mhm,
mean?
mhm,
In
mhm,
my
mhm.
own way. And then I might come back and take it a little bit further. Is
That's
that like
very
the thing too?
spiritual development, like that's how people are. Would you say?
At least it's the way it's been in my experience with QHHT and this stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens if you go too fast?
For me, I get overwhelmed. I start
Mhm.
getting migraines.
Okay, so your body gives you a signal. Other people might have a panic attack. Other people might not be able to sleep. Other people might be crabby. Other people, it might lead them to drink or abuse drugs or fill the void, shop more, or seek sex or exercise to death. I mean, there's all these different ways that we have coping mechanisms. So if you go too fast, as a coach, when people are trying to make a lifestyle change, the goal is to take a teeny tiny half step every day. It's the people who are like, I'm gonna go to the gym and they work out for 2 hours and they hurt so bad they never go back. If you take off too much, bite off more than you can chew spiritually, also, it's a lot. It's a lot for your head and your body and your mind to integrate all at once. It's more about making it a lifestyle change. It's not about going on a psychic diet. It's about integrating it slowly in your life in layers. I like the layers. Yeah.
Can I ask you like how because you say you've been doing this for so long, like working with a lot of people. And I hear a lot of, it's so weird that when I started getting into all this stuff, it was just like, it was like during COVID. COVID is like, seemed to be like a moment that I get from a lot of people in this community where it kind of started for them too.
Mm.
Um, has it been increasing? Like your people been coming to you more and more lately, or has
I
it just been
think,
kind of the same?
no, I think there's more. I think we're finally, I remember, I definitely dabble in astrology, and I remember looking at the aspects and reading somebody's interpretation that said things are just changing. They're never going to go back to the way that they were. It was a Pluto Uranus huge
Mhm.
square, I believe. And I thought, okay, so we are now in a new reality where we're going to be more digital. And I have seen more people spiritually, but I would say it's in part because of my global reach digitally. I am able to reach people in Dubai. I'm able to reach people
Hmm.
in India. I couldn't reach those people before so easily. So now, and I find that uh, at least at least in America, I mean, people are definitely becoming more aware. I go to India, that is the definition of spiritual. Okay, there are some countries that are just they eat, breathe, live spiritual, not necessarily religious either, spiritual. So I think it has increased, but yeah, to answer your question, I know people had to pivot, and I also think that the governments of the world and the dark forces elicited such a raw level of fear that it was warranted somewhat. For the level of fetal position I saw people go into, I'm not entirely sure that was necessary. And people began to doubt what they were hearing and check in with themselves. And because there was that isolation period, people were forced to deal with themselves. I loved it. My husband and I were all about that, but we're homebodies, right? Other people, it was awful. People who are extroverted or extroverted and they have void fillers like bars or I don't know what they would do outside, but they weren't able to have those social interactions and they were paralyzed, they were depressed. However, it forced them to journal. It forced them to start to do online therapy, to join online groups, to start to work on their issues, which is good.
Crazy.
And really take a look inward. And then they started to feel. They started to feel more. And they noticed crowds feel different and noise feels different and social media feels different and icky. And there are certain movies that left them with a bad, creepy feeling, whereas before they seem to have an armor for that. So that's kind of my take on how the spirituality evolved a little bit with that. That's what I saw. I
Wow.
retired from massage. Then I was a licensed massage therapist for 26 years, and I retired 6.5 years ago and started exclusively coaching and doing the classes online that I've been teaching.
Hmm.
What would you say? Do you think that people are more spiritually activated since spiritually aware since
Oh, I don't say, like I
COVID?
said, I don't even know because I didn't start getting into all this stuff until after like COVID, maybe a year after COVID happened.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was like for me, it was kind of just a shocking moment because I never believed into any of this kind of stuff. Um, I was always into all the ET stuff, and that's what kind of led me into this a little bit because I was watching a lot of that shows on Gaia, and I
Hmm.
happened to fall into just some show I was getting ready to fall asleep to, talking about Atlantis,
Hmm.
and I was like, um, and from that moment on, like, well, so it was the story was told by another QHHT practitioner. Was telling her story with the, and it led me down the road of like researching QHHT because her story was with a friend of hers who had a tumor who went into this hypnosis to bring back all this information, and then the tumor went away. And so I was looking for anything out there in the universe to help my kid. And that right there, just like, oh, well, I'll learn it myself. When I saw how cheap it was to learn it, I went and researched. I was like, oh, I could learn for under $1,000. I'll do it.
Hmm.
And and so like I started to hear other people's like um I guess conversations around this on other with other content creators. And I didn't even know people were talking about this kind of stuff within this community. But then they're also kind of talking about there is this thing going on, like this raising of frequency and ascension. and all this stuff. And I kind of thought that that was kind of fascinating that there was all this prophecy kind of talk, but that it's happening right now. You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa. I mean, did I come into the picture at just the right time? You know what I mean? And then I started to find out that there was a lot of other people like me, that it seems like this whole thing for them kind of kicked off because maybe COVID was a trigger or something like that. Because it
Hmm.
seems like that was like a pivotal moment for so many people that I meet now.
Hmm.
Like, where do you see us going as humans? Because you are, I do see you as this Charles Xavier kind of figure, you
That's
know?
amazing you say that. Thank you.
So
That's so meaningful to me. Thank you that you would say that.
I knew when I was gonna say that right there. I knew I was gonna hit the right button with you.
You did. Thank you. You did. It means a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, I definitely want to clarify nobody's being left behind with the spiritual evolution and insights that people are experiencing. This isn't something that you're either going to miss the boat, get on the boat, or miss out. Your soul won't be lost. Um, it's an opportunity for people to feel and see and sense and awaken spiritually if they'd like. The reason that I'm so detached about this is actually from a reading I had when I was 19. And I'll get you to answer your question brief. I just briefly wanted to say this. I picked out these cards and it was like a multi-life reading. And I picked out this card and it was this creepy hand like this. And he said, which one gives you the most emotional reaction? I'm like, this one is just disturbing. And the reading that I got from him was that next life, I'm going to be popular, thin, uh, completely unaware of this entire world. And then I would probably die at like 18. I'll have like a perfect sweet life of karma. And I said, why? And he said, because you're going to be so fried psychically from this life, you'll want a life where you want nothing to do with that. And that always stuck out in my head because at that point, at my 19-year-old self, I was very judgmental of people that were not aware, not activated, had not transmuted some kind of pain, that just seemed to have life easy. They were unaware of all of this. And I now realize a lot of those are my own negative blockers, and I've worked through those. And we're born deserving of wealth and beauty and health and everything. Nobody needs to earn it. We're all equally deserving. And some people get more than others naturally, but that doesn't mean some people are better or some people are less. I would like to believe that things are going to change. I believe that AI is a tool, but that it should not be abused. I believe that, like any tools, you can use it to channel consciousness, just like I use a video screen to channel consciousness and transmute. I believe that society will continue to divide as it is, and in order to rebuild, everything has to be torn down. So we're not even close to that rebuild. We're still dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing and dividing. And the polarity will continue until something happens, and then there will be a brand new rebuild. But we aren't even close to the division stopping yet. So I'm just here eating popcorn and helping the people that come to me and sending energy and doing global healing and protecting my energy field and teaching other
okay.
people how to protect their energy field. That's all I can give you. That's all I'm comfortable giving you. So, and I'm hesitant to give any huge global psychic readings. That's
No,
not
no,
my
I wasn't
lane.
asking for that.
So,
You know,
oh,
yeah.
well, when you ask me where do I
Yeah.
think, that's
No,
a
what
big
I was
question.
so what I was thinking was like was I hear a word called like sovereign, being sovereign humans or sovereign beings. And I kind of relate that to this taking back your own power and taking control of your life. And for so long, I mean, I don't even know. I guess I hear maybe it was like, I mean, I was gonna say, oh shit, maybe it started back in the time of the Anunnaki, because we talk about they created the humans to use them as slaves. So the human experience was a controlled experience where it was boxed in and you were confined within these defined limitations of that mass consciousness played a, you know, whatever. But then now it sounds like there's this freeing up for those who are maybe on a soul level, ready to move into that sort of new type of human experience of being fully in control of their own reality. Where now that's like they see that, they know that they are in control around it. It starts right here. It starts with how they feel and they think inside about themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, so I was thinking of, and I think that's what that term sovereign human might come from.
Knowing your
And
full identity, knowing your
yeah,
identity with your human body and your soul's identity, and
yeah, that,
what's yours versus somebody else's or something generational or past life, but what's actually yours. And then what you can do as this infinite, beautiful soul, infinite, beautiful creature.
yeah.
I would like to think that's where we're moving as a society. I'm patient and I just work with the people that come to me. I honor the paths that other people have because that's their soul's agenda. But I do my best to present when people come in front of me. I hold the assumption that every person that comes to me is an assignment.
Mm.
Every person that comes to me is an assignment. So those are the assignments that I take. As far as the rest of the world and where we're going as a society, I don't know. That would depend on your assignments and everybody else's assignments and what we're planning on doing and what all our missions are.
Well, though, and the way you just put that too just really kind of grounded me. Like you really just brought me to the present. Like that's like that's a great feeling, you
Good.
know.
Glad to hear it.
No, because I think because like I kind of I've dwelled on the past and dwelled on the future. You know
Mm,
what I mean? And
hmm.
I think it's created a lot of dwell within me. And it's like, and that's also kind of like a lesson that I've been coming to as well, is learning to be with myself in the present, how
Hmm.
important that is, and to not be like, even within this community, not to be prophetic and just to stay, just put that out there. Okay, fine. That's there, that exists out there if you want to feed yourself that stuff, but just to kind of come back and for the moment to just
Well, it's
start to
so
be who I am.
heavy. We're supposed to have fun here. This is supposed to be a
Mm.
light reality. It's not supposed to
Yeah.
be so heavy and deep and meaningful. And yes, it is. And it's transformative. But there's psychic puzzles and there's catching the ball and there's those fun little aha moments that we have throughout the day. And my thing is what I'm trying to cultivate is that on a 1 to 10, your day is a 10. So you wake up and you bless that moment. You bless getting ready. You bless driving to work if you do that. You bless each of your connections and appointments. And the takeaway from the day, if you did bless and clean the energy that you have and clean everybody else's, is that when you stop for a coffee, you had a really fun laugh with the barista over something. Or when you almost ran into somebody at the door and you both laughed and maybe you were both wearing the same shirt. I went, oh, that's fun. We have the exact same shirt on. Those little synchronicities, those little aha moments, those God moments, I call them. That's why we're here for those fun little exchanges with our souls, with our little souls that we're interacting with. We're all souls in skin suits trying to navigate our way with amnesia in this reality. And then when
The
we're done,
amnesia,
we
man.
all have amnesia. And then some of
Yeah.
us remember bits and pieces like you're familiar, but you can make that familiar feeling with everyone. And it's fun when you do that because then that awakens something. They awaken it themselves by being around that connection. They think, oh, she feels good or he feels good. And they connect, they trust, they open. And in that process, all these emotions and feelings and energies come through them. And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of more dreams, of more wonderful, spiritually fulfilling moments. But everybody has their own process and their own beautiful path and their own beautiful skills. And nothing needs to be activated by another person.
And so, like, can I just ask you this? I know we're getting close to like, but I keep thinking like this, like, what have you learned about who you are, your multidimensional self now playing, the role of Lisa? Like, what have you learned personally about your whole thing with all of this, you know?
So to be honest with you, I'm so big and mission driven. I try not to think about that. I will tell you that
Okay.
from the readings that I've had, I had multiple lives of servitude and I had multiple lives of power where I blew it. I blew it. I was the worst leader, the worst person. I abused it. I was terrible. I was horrible. The worst person in society that you would all probably hate. That was me. So this time I came in making it harder with that same drive so that I would have humility and humble and more humble. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I am, where I'm going. All I know is I have this fire inside of me that before I die, I have to get as much of this information out as possible. And I want people to understand that there are energies around them all the time, every single one of us, and they influence the way you think and feel. And if you don't clean your energy, you can be under the influence of these if you have holes in your aura. And you have holes in your aura because of what you eat and what you believe and what you were born with and the environment that you're in and the drugs and alcohol you take and the media that you expose yourself to. And those holes grow little cords. And those little cords that you grow attract, you go fishing for dark energies. And those dark energies land on your shoulder and say you are fat and revolting and you should starve yourself. That's a little eating disorder one. Or they say nobody likes you, you're never going to date anybody, you're a loser. And they give you these awful, awful sentences, which may start from a sentence you heard from a bully or from a parent, and it became your mantra in your subconscious. And those are all attachments. And when you blow them up, they go away and you feel normal. And when you bubble up, it's one of the techniques I teach. You create a field that's your own energy. You start to recognize that your own essence feels sweet, sweet like cotton candy, sweet like ice cream. And you don't need anybody else because you feel that good marinating in your own energy. That's what meditation is about. You don't need to meditate. You can just channel Reiki and do my guided visualization briefly and start to feel your own energy. Does that all make sense?
Yeah. No, I
I
was
feel
just
like I might
thinking,
have
I
deflected
was
the
just thinking
question a
that was
little,
like
but
I was just thinking, I was like, that's a great message to end on because you're just basically like, it sounds like, just like kind of keep going, keep living, you know?
keep living, take responsibility for your energy hygiene. Recognize that anything you feel that's bad is not your own. Even if there's death, even if there's tragedy, if your energy hygiene is right, yes, there will be sorrow. Yes, there might be a flicker of anger or something uncomfortable, but to dwell on it, like you said, and let it rule your reality, those are attachments and those are energies, and you can absolutely do something about it. And it would be a wonderful world if people were themselves and only themselves without the influence of cords and attachments. But they can activate it themselves.
Yeah. And you're here to work with them. So
I am. I am. And I
yeah.
have all sorts of tools that are ranging from free to if you want to work with me privately. At some point, I might have retreats or something like that. I do not yet. I have to have time, energy, and bandwidth for that. But I suspect that's probably where we're headed in the years to come based on what I'm seeing and feeling right now.
Well, go ahead and continue with that thought
Thank
and
you.
let everybody know how they can work with you and, all that stuff,
If anybody
Go
is
ahead and finish it off
Oh, sure. If
any way you
anybody's
want.
interested in
Yeah.
working with me, I'm always open to a free 15-minute chat. I have links on my website. I have a free, it's a free live question and answer practice session. So we practice energy, bubbling up, all of that once a month. That's on my website. I have attunements. I have wonderful online trainings. When people come in, if you're totally new to this, I suggest that you check out the More Essentials. It's an online training that I have that includes Reiki 1 and 2 with the attunements, psychic development, energy hygiene, and the law of attraction, which are the more essentials, the basis of what you need to begin to grow and work with anything that I offer. I have multiple live classes. I'm always adding different things. I have a brand new learning center where I currently have a few dozen blogs that you can go in and read that have all sorts of articles about everything from that creepy feeling in the dark to how to see auras. I have all different things. And then I have the YouTube channel as well. So if you are curious, if this resonated with you, there are millions of teachers out there. If I resonated with you, if it felt like this is good, you felt like you could trust me, if it felt like, yes, Lisa, I get you, I get this, I think I need to talk to you, reach out. I'm touchable in that way. You can just schedule an appointment, and I am glad to give 15 minutes of my time to you to help you decide what you need to do to move forward in this world. Thank you so much, Tony, for having me. This was great.
Yeah,
I really
thank you,
appreciate the
Lisa,
opportunity.
so much, man. Yeah. And to the viewers, if you just take a look in the description, there'll be a blog post to supplement this video, and all of Lisa's contact, all her links and everything will be inside the blog post. Please just hang on one moment. I'm going to turn this off, and thank you everybody for being here. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you.